everybody, and welcome to 500 Open Tabs. I'm Kaveh Taherian.
And I'm Hannah Hillam, and we're your hosts.
We're your hosts.
Look, I'm nailing it.
You are. We're killing it. It only took 5 episodes, and now we're into it. Welcome back. Thank you guys for joining us. We are hyped for today's episode, as we are for every episode, for reasons I don't know why you're hyped, because I don't know what you're going to talk about, but I'm hyped for mine.
I just love to talk.
Yes, I do as well.
At anybody.
Anything that you wanted to update us about or update the audience about since the last episode?
No.
Which I realize as we're recording this, it hasn't been released yet.
We haven't released it.
Listen, we're trying to get ahead. We're trying to get ahead so we can hopefully do this as like a weekly thing.
And in order to get ahead, I got to apologize right now for anything I said in the episode last time that is offensive.
What did you say that was offensive?
Nothing. I'm just pre-apologizing just in case.
You're just covering your bases. You don't know.
Yep. I've come out against what I said.
Yes, me too. And I'm in support of you coming out of whatever it was that you said. Again, it always comes back to, what is it, 30 Rock? We're like, when we said the thing about the thing. Like that.
I don't remember.
Anyway.
But yeah, you were just saying that we want to get to a weekly, we would go on to get to a weekly schedule at some point.
We're aiming for that. It's a lot to, did you know that like when they first did It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Landgraf told those guys, they were like, let's do a full season. He was like, no, I'm going to teach you how to make the show. So the first season's only going to be about like 6 or 10 episodes, something like that, because he wanted them to like really gain their footing before he threw them into the proper realm of whatever, I think 12 or whatever that they do every episode. So we're basically exactly like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, just as talented, just as hardworking.
Always Sunny of podcasts.
So we're trying to gain our footing properly so that we don't run too fast in the beginning and fall on our faces, which we're going to do anyway, but you know.
Yeah, for sure. But let's minimize the falling on our faces a little bit.
Yes, agreed. I did watch unrelated. Did you watch? I know the answers already know, but I watched My Octopus Teacher last night. Did you ever see that movie?
No, but I hear it's really good.
It's a beautiful movie, and I almost wanted to just do a whole episode about octopi today, but I had already spent so much time researching my my topic today that like I had to hold it back.
We'll jam an octopus in there somehow. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure out a way to slip it in. But yes, go ahead and laugh at that, Hannah.
So it was good. You said slip it in. I couldn't help it. My mind is garbage. It's true. I almost forgot my own birthday last week.
That's true. Oh, that's right. Happy birthday. I'm sorry we couldn't record on your birthday, which was the case. Every time that we've recorded, there's been a birthday.
Yeah. My family likes having kids in December and January, so.
Good for them.
But yeah, on the 19th, I was like, oh, tomorrow's my birthday.
Yes, happy belated, actually not belated, I told you happy birthday, but happy birthday from everybody on the podcast. Why don't we get into it now? I usually, based on the schedule, I'd be the one to go first, but I think I'd like to go second.
Making the executive decision to why.
Yes. Well, I'm making a request. If it's okay with you, I'd like to go second.
Yeah, I can go first again.
Okay.
Totally fine with that. Besides, it makes sense because this week I am continuing from a tab I opened from last week's tab.
Oh.
So this is kind of the very first rabbit hole.
Excellent.
What do we call them? And I opened
rabbit holes.
Yeah. I opened another tab while reading last week's tab. And if you listen to last week's episode 4, you'll know that the tab is about the island of Niihau.
That's right.
And I'm just going to jump right in. So just to refresh you, that island of Niihau is one of Hawaii's main islands that only has a few, like 40, 50 people living on it. It's privately owned and it has been for over 150 years. Mm-hmm. And so it's very quiet. No one can go there. It's mysterious. They call it the Forbidden Isle. And
Forbidden Isle.
It's owned by a family called the Robinsons. And people are living here. They're kind of stuck in time.
Yeah, not Robinson Crusoe, as we pointed out last time.
Just a bunch of other ones.
Just a bunch of other Mrs. Robinsons. Here's to you, Mrs. Robinson. Forbidden Island, something I don't know.
No.
Whoa.
Yay. Good one. That was good. Just on-air feedback. Nice,
Yeah.
good one. I like that. Keep that in.
Keep it in.
So if you remember, I mentioned I mentioned there was an incident that happened on the island in the 1940s.
Yes.
Yeah, and I said I wanted to get back to it someday, and I was like, you know what, I may as well just
someday is immediately the next day.
Is now, because I couldn't stop reading about it. So
I think this is great. I like the idea that you had something that you were going to do someday, and you're just like, guess what? No, doing it immediately. That's how you achieve your goals. Yeah.
Thank you. You're right. I never do that ever.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. You're very supportive. Okay. In the 1940s, something happened called the Niihau Incident. And the story begins at 7:48 a.m. on December 7th, 1941, which is just a normal day that nothing happened on that day. I'm just kidding, except for Pearl Harbor. The attack on Pearl Harbor happened at 7:48 a.m. And it was the Japanese attack on the island that kind of definitely pulled us into World War II.
It's a little bit. It's a little bit of a nudge.
Kind of pissed us off enough to be like, let's join.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. We don't love it. We don't love that when that happens.
Not a fan. Not a fan of Pearl Harbor.
We tend to go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so there were two waves of attack. I don't know if you knew this. There was the first wave, which was, it was all aerial. It was all an aerial attack. The first wave was primarily attacking land, like Pearl Harbor itself, the land area around it. And then the second attack was attacking the warships that were in the bay. So the first fleet? I don't know. First group
fleet
of airplanes?
Is that the first murder of planes?
The first flock of planes. The first murder of planes.
Murder of planes.
What's a group of planes?
That's for us to decide. I think murder of planes is good.
The first murder of planes attacks, and then a couple hours later, the second. And this is the one where our main character is part of. So he is an airman first class in the Japanese military named Shigenori Nishikaichi. Mm-hmm. Really hope I said that right. From now on, I'll be calling him Nishikaichi.
Nishikaichi.
He had participated in the second wave. And while attacking, his aircraft had been damaged because we did retaliate.
We fought back. We are America.
We definitely did. We don't know how to do anything else. Yeah. So his airplane is damaged, and he had remembered that his commanders had been like, "Okay, there's some uninhabited islands around Hawaii that you can crash land on if you need to, and we'll come pick you up." So he was like, "Oh, there's one," and he looks at Niihau, and that was on the list of islands that was uninhabited.
Perfect. His pickup spot. His Uber driver knew where to get him. His Uber flyer.
Like, can you actually go closer to the? Anyway,
sorry, we're only going to wait for 5 minutes before we save you from this island and fly you back to Japan.
Anyway, so he decides to crash land, and so he takes his airplane down. Control crash lands it in a field, in a deeply plowed field on the island of Niihau, where, if you remember, there are at this point about 150 residents there who are farming and ranching. So he lands his plane, and there's a guy standing there, and he's just like, what? Because all of a sudden he sees this airplane coming down, and his name is Hawila Kalayohano.
That's a beautiful name, actually.
Isn't it? Kalayohano? Yeah. He's a 29-year-old, and he lives on the island. And he's like, dang, that's a Japanese plane. And since he was cut off from the island's cut off from the world, but no one had heard of the attack, but he was not from the island. He had been living there for the last 10 years. And so he knew that there were tensions with the Japanese. And so he was like, better be safe, rather safe than sorry. And I'm going to take this guy's gun, and I'm going to take his papers.
And I think in general, taking someone's gun is probably the smart move if you can, regardless if you have tensions with them or not.
And so Nishikaichi was like passed out in the airplane, and the guy, Kalayohano, was like, here, take the gun, yoink, and the papers, yoink.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up and he's like, hey, dude, come to my house. I'll help you out. And he takes him there. And of course, the whole island is like, whoa, this is the most exciting thing that's happened to us in a long time. So everyone goes and gathers around and like wants to see this soldier. And they still don't know about the attack. So they give him
they
food.
They think it's like this visitor. It's just this random
Well,
dude that's
they
shown
think
up.
it was just some random like accident. Like, oh, he must have been like. Well, they didn't really know the answer, and so they give him food and water and like tea and coffee, and then they have a party because I think it's just like Hawaiian like
What
hospitality.
kind of party? Yeah.
It was just a party, like, you know,
like a social. Was it like an ice cream social?
Like, here, ice cream. No, but this like dazed out of it pilot's just sitting there, and there's like 100 Hawaiians
Why are
being
they
like
celebrating me?
Here, have some food. It was just a welcoming party. Like, that's just, I think it's like very much like Hawaiian culture to be like, doesn't matter.
I'm like, the Persians would do the same thing. We'll just be like, listen, we're going to feed you to death. We're going to make sure we're dancing. There's a bunch of chai and tea. There's all kinds of stuff that we're going to do.
And if you don't like it too bad, we're being nice, right?
Yeah, we're going to be aggressively nice. All you got to do is make sure you take your shoes off when you come into the house. That's the most important part if you get invited.
I made that mistake. I came to your house and I realized I was sitting on your chair, your couch with my shoes on. And I was like,
I almost never talked to you again. I was like, the podcast is over.
I took all my shoes off and I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm so white. I keep my shoes on inside. Which, it's true.
I feel like the Japanese pilot did not do that, though. If he's Japanese, he knows.
He knows. Take his shoes off. Yeah.
He takes notes to take his shoes off. So he didn't make that faux pas.
I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying... Anyway, so he's sitting there and they're like, woo! And then they're trying to talk to him and he doesn't speak any English, like barely any. And they're like, this guy we can't talk. And there are people who live on this island and in Hawaii called Issei. I think it's pronounced Issei.
Okay.
And Issei is a Japanese word for second generation Japanese person. So there are a lot of people who moved to Hawaii to work on like plantations and farms and stuff. And so there were 3 Issei on this island. And so they call one of them, who his name is Shintani. And he is a beekeeper. He's the island beekeeper. He's like a 60-year-old. I know, right?
Love it. Yes.
He's like a 60-year-old.
Into it.
Japanese guy beekeeper, and he comes to translate and he sits down with the pilot and he's like, what's up with you? And the pilot talks and everyone's like, what are they saying? And then the beekeeper just gets up and leaves. And everyone's like, sorry,
excuse
what?
Me?
And he just nopes out of there. And so they're like, get the other Japanese speakers here. And the other people were this couple called the Haradas. And it was Yoshio and Irene, and they're married. And they also speak Japanese. When they talked to the pilot, they sat down and they're like, what is happening? And he's like, I totally bombed Pearl Harbor. I helped bomb Pearl Harbor. And they were like, what? Because they still didn't even know about it. Nobody knew. And so they sat there and they were like, we're not going to say anything to anybody. We're making
Why?
I don't... They just made the decision.
They don't explain why. They just decided to keep it a secret.
Did
anyone ever find out why the beekeeper left? Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
Later.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
It's just kind of his personality. I'm the beekeeper in this scenario. I would absolutely just leave the situation because I'm scared of confrontation.
You would be a beekeeper too.
Yeah, ideally. But I think once I got stung, I'd be like, I'm done with this. So anyway, so they made this couple, Irene and Yoshio, made the decision to not translate all of it to the rest. And so Nishikaichi was like, guys, I need to get my papers back and my gun, and I need to destroy my plane. And they're like, ugh. And by this point, and these papers, the reason these papers are so important is because they have top secret radio codes and detailed
I thought it was like his passport or something, like identification papers. Oh, dear Lord.
No, they have like plans and maps, like detailed maps of like attack plans. So he's like, I have to get these papers back. And
it's his cheat sheet.
He's like, how else am I going to know who to kill?
I tried writing it on my hand, but it wasn't enough space.
Look, it came off. Find out. So fast forward to later on in the night, and then the news of the attack comes, and everyone's like, puts the pieces together.
Yeah.
You crash landed here.
We threw a party for you.
Yes. And even so, they're still like, look, we don't want to do this, but we're locking you up. We're keeping you captive until somebody can come and get you tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Because the next boat
good
to come
people.
in,
I like them. They're like,
oh my gosh,
they throw a guest a party that's amazing, and then they're not even like mean to the guy that bombed Pearl Harbor. Nope. They're like, we're sorry to put you away. It almost sounds like
I would feel
Sorry,
I
continue.
would feel bad. I'd be like, he's just like some soldier. It's not like he's planned the whole thing. He's just doing what
He
anyway,
just
turns out he was
spawned
not
it all.
just some nice soldier. Well, so we'll get to there.
Oh,
He kind of goes anyway, you'll see. So everyone finds out about the attack, and the Haradas still had not let anyone know that they were siding with him. So they were like, how about you stay with the Haradas because they speak Japanese? And he's like, that sounds
great.
great.
Yeah,
And so
that's your
they put-
prison for the night.
So no, for the next week.
For the next week. What does
Yeah,
that say about
because-
the Haradas? That they're like, we're going to punish you by putting you with the Haradas for a week.
Well, it's no, because they only because they could translate, and they
Right.
the
I thought
beekeeper
they were like,
was
man,
like,
Irene can't cook at all, so this is punishment enough.
maybe she couldn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? Punishment enough. Mean. Then if that were the case, then no one would ever want to stay with me because I also can't cook very well. So they placed 5 guards outside the house, and their plan was to send him to Kauai the next day with the owner of the island, who was coming every week, and he was supposed to arrive the next day, but he didn't show up because the military is like, no boats, no planes, no one
lockdown.
leave, complete lockdown of the islands. And so this boat wasn't getting anywhere near Niihau. So the next day is December 8th, and it's when Roosevelt asks Congress to declare formal war on Japan, which is the last time we ever declared formal war on anyone.
Otherwise we just went in.
Yeah. We haven't declared formal war since December 8th, 1941.
I don't think I knew that we never declared
Yeah.
formal war. That's
the
weird.
last time
Okay.
we got technical, formal, like the go-ahead from
Approval.
Congress.
Yeah.
Ever since then, it's just been kind of like, can we maybe, it's all very, we won't get into that. Anyway,
Okay. It's all very sketch.
so the pilot, Nishikaichi, is still there, and it takes him days to be like, seriously, you have to help me. Trying to like appeal to their like nationality and their background, and they agree to help him, and they're gonna try to figure out a way to get his papers back and his gun, destroy his plane, and get him off the island.
So these people are basically like traitors at this point.
Yes, 100%
This is straight treason. This is
Yes.
as treasonous as it gets.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they find Shintani, the beekeeper, and they're like,
Yeah.
hey, so can you go talk to Kaleohano, the guy who found him and took his papers, and can you just see if you can like bribe him to give those back?
Mhm.
And Shintani's like, ugh, okay. So he goes, and it's pretty obvious he doesn't like confrontation because he tries to bribe them once, and he's like, no,
Yeah.
absolutely not. And so then Shintani feels like super nervous that he failed them, and then he just like runs away and hides in the woods, which
Hashtag relatable.
I would 100% do.
I'm sorry I let you down.
Okay, one time I owed somebody money, and it was not a big deal, and I saw them on campus, and I ducked. We were in the campus bookstore, and I saw them, and I ducked down like I was gonna get in trouble. That's how how against
That sounds like you're just avoiding creditors. That's different.
It does, but it was my friend. It was-
I didn't want to
Anyway.
disappoint him by knowing I didn't have the money yet.
Yeah,
Did
no,
you
that
ever
was
pay them
exactly.
back?
Yeah, it was like $7. That's the crazy
Oh,
thing. But
I was hoping that you were going to be like,
college,
and then I never spoke to that person again for the rest of my life.
no, I paid them back, but I just needed a little more time.
Hannah Hillam, a woman who always pays her debts.
Unless I forget, which I've done.
That's true. I could see you more forgetting to pay your debts rather than refusing to pay
Yeah,
them.
I've had people be like, "By the way, you still owe me this," and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, that was
What?
like 3 or 4 years ago." So, anyway, flaky.
Oops.
Okay, so while he's away, Shintani,
Mhm.
the Haradas are like, "Oh, okay, well, he's not coming back. We're just gonna go ahead and do Plan B, which is to steal the papers back."
Okay.
So here's where their plan starts. The plan of action starts. So why can't I ever? I had these names memorized earlier, and of course they go right out the window.
You should have had your
Nishikaichi.
papers where all the names are written down and the attack
I
plans
burned
together.
them.
So you can keep referencing them.
Dude, some guy came in and took them from me.
And then he ran into the woods because he
Yeah,
was
he's
sad.
in the woods. He's a beekeeper. Anyway, Nishikaichi and the Haradas decide to first go to the warehouse. There's a warehouse nearby where the guns are being stored. So they realize they have to create a distraction for the guards. So Irene takes out the
Love it.
phonograph and puts on
Okay.
some loud, like if you can imagine 1940s music.
It's like some old-timey jazz, basically.
Yes.
Some swing music or like big band or something.
It might have been. And she puts the music on to hide any sound of a struggle. And for some reason they discover there's only...
It's straight up like an old cartoon.
No, seriously. This gets even more
like,
cartoonish.
Does Bugs Bunny show up wearing like coconut bra and like trying to pretend to be a woman to distract the guard and like take his keys away?
Michikaji's like, his eyes go, ooh, wow. Like then they make they pop out of the skull. Anyway.
Yeah.
In a cute way, not a gross way.
Yeah. Anyway, she puts on the music for distraction to hide the sound.
Because they're planning on
sound.
Attacking the guards, and they find that there's only one guard outside. So they're like, "Oh, this is way easier than we thought."
Fine.
So they had no trouble just grabbing him and locking him in the warehouse where the guns are after taking all the guns. So yeah, they lock him up.
Poor guy.
Yeah, and so then they're like, "Okay, now next step is to go get those papers," and we're pretty sure they're at Kaleohano's house. So they get in a car, like a wagon pulled by a horse, because remember, there's no cars. There's nothing
on there. Yeah.
Yeah, and they put all the guns in this wagon pulled by this horse, and they like ride this cart up the hill to Kaleohano's house. And Kaleohano is out in the outhouse at the time.
Oh no! This is my worst nightmare.
Like,
you're in the middle of taking a shit.
I think he was... I think he may have been done because he saw them and he was like, "Oh," so he ducks down and hides in the outhouse.
Oh, did he owe them $7?
He did. How did you know how this ended? Oh, wow! Thank you. So Kaleohano is like, "I better hide." And he was probably so annoyed. He was like, "That guy tried to bribe me. I'm just going to go to the bathroom." And then he sees these guys escaped. So he sees the trio and they're holding a gun and headed toward his house. So he decides, duck down and hide. Yeah. And he watches as they go to the plane, which they had taken near his house, and they torch it. Torch the plane, but not before they try to use the radio to talk to Japan, and it doesn't work. They totally torch the plane. They take all the guns off of it, take all the ammunition, and leave it burning. And
oh my God.
Yeah. And what's his name?
There's no fire department, is there? Like on the island, they're not going to show up in a fire truck to put this out.
No, nobody's coming.
He's like, thanks. You just light this thing on fire by my house and leave.
Oh, there's more. So Kaleohano is like, "What the and then he realizes they're walking over to his house. Uh-oh. And so they're walking to his house, and he decides to run because he was like, "They're not looking. I'm gonna run and warn the rest of the villagers." And so he leaves the outhouse.
This guy's smart. Yes,
dude, this guy's a hero. And of course, they somehow see him, so they start shooting at him. And like an action movie, he's like dodging it and running, and he gets away unscathed.
Awesome.
And I know, right? And somehow, I don't know how this happened, but because I couldn't figure out when he got a hold of the papers, but Kaleohano has the papers. He has the Japanese.
Of course, papers. He does. So he's the best.
He probably had them on him. If I were him, I'd keep them on me at all times.
That's what he took to the outhouse, and he was like, "Listen,
these are my constant companions."
Yeah, he has to read them when he's on the toilet, or worst case scenario, if they run out of toilet paper, you never know.
Good idea.
Yeah,
how disrespectful would that be?
To war plans to murder more people.
Awesome. Pearl Harbor. I'm gonna wipe my. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a real American.
He's running, and in the background, they're burning his house down.
Because, oh no!
Yeah, what? They're like they see him running.
They burned his house down, or did from the plane it caught?
They torched it.
Move.
So, I know, and so they at some point around here, Irene is no longer with them. So I don't know where Irene goes. It's kind of hazy. Later on, she was like, "I wasn't involved." But she definitely was. So she's no longer around. They burn his house down. He sees it and he's like, runs to the village, warns everybody.
Cool. Yeah.
He's so pissed. Imagine he's like, he's in his field and he's just minding his own business. A plane crashes and ruins his whole life.
Yeah. I didn't ask for this. I was just trying to do my farm work. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Being punished for doing the right thing.
And so he warns everybody and everyone's like, "You sure about that?" And he's like, "Yeah, dude, they escaped and they're burning down things."
They burned down my house.
everyone is skeptical until one of the guards that they had
the one that they put into the gun
Mhm.
storage locker.
who's 16. The 16-year-old guard comes back and he's like, guys, and then corroborates the story. And so everybody runs, leaves their homes, hides in caves and bushes and in the mountains and stuff. And Kaleohano, being awesome, he's like, that's not enough. So he climbs Mount Panayao and he ignites this huge fire.
Oh my God.
Like Gondor.
It's like calling for Gondor, yeah.
He
Gondor calls for your aid.
And they didn't come.
What?
No, they did the next day. But no, that actually was a huge,
Theoden
that was really
being
important.
prideful.
Theoden, exactly. Oh, I used to have that speech memorized because I was that kind of kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, he ignites this Gondor-style warning fire. And
awesome.
He organizes some of the residents.
So great.
Oh, he's so cool. I'll put pictures of him up. He looks awesome. He looks like a guy who would absolutely be able to do all of this. He organizes some of the residents to sneak into the only lifeboat on the island and row to Kauai, which is
I'm afraid to ask this. How far? Okay,
10 hours.
10 hours of rowing?
Yes. You just blew my eardrums out.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I just snorted. So they get going because he's like, we can't waste any time. It's only like 10 p.m. You can do it. You can get there overnight. And so they leave. It's like 6 or 7 people, and go back. So we're leaving him now. He did Kaleohano for a bit, and we go back over to Nishikaichi, the pilot, and the Haradas, Now it's just Yoshio Harada. So the two of them, they're pissed. They're so pissed off. They're going around with the guns they took from the plane. So like machine guns from the plane and just shooting through. Yes. House to house, kicking down doors, shooting through doors. They were absolutely trying to like kill people.
That's terrible.
And looking for Kaleohano because they're like, okay, we burned his house, but we have to get him too, just in case. But luckily, Kaleohano had told everyone to leave, so the village was empty. So he saved the lives of all of these people. Yeah. And so they're both super frustrated, which is kind of I can like see this as a movie. Just them going crazy mode right now, just being like, nothing's going right. Yeah. So the two of them come across this resident who had come back to his house. He had evacuated his family and went back to his house. And I don't know why, but he was back at his house, and his name is Kalima. And they see him and he's like, so they take him hostage and they force him at gunpoint to yell out the names of people to see if anyone answers so they can find him. So he's yelling out names. And of course, because everyone's ride or die, nobody answers.
Hell yes.
And it's like, yes. No one answers. And he's like, they're just not around here, even though they were. So they let him go. And
they're like, you're useless. Like you didn't do anything for us. Good, go away.
Let him go. So while they're still like going around the village, Kalima is now free. And so he runs into his old neighbor, Ben Kanahele. And Ben is 6'5" tall, super strong, and just like this unit of a man, you know?
Absolute unit.
Absolute unit. And Kalima's like, we've got to get those guns they were using and get rid of them.
Yeah.
So he gets Ben. They go back to the cart where they left the cart. They take the guns from it and the ammo and any of the other weapons in there.
They just left it unsupervised?
They're going berserk mode. They're like they're not in their right minds. I'm pretty sure this is also, they were still burning down the other house. So I think they were also on doing that at the same time.
You turn your back for 1 second to burn down a house. Can't even trust people to not steal all your illegal weapons that you stole from the Capitol building or whatever it is.
Oh, we're talking about.
Or sorry, not the Capitol, but
the
Capitol,
warehouse.
like the warehouse. Yeah, the warehouse.
I like that you call
the town armory.
Capitol building. Yeah, town armory. Anyway, so Ben and Kalima bury all these weapons on the beach. And then
this
Ben's
is,
like,
again, smart. They're
so
not
smart.
like trying to go like shoot everybody because that's just going to get more death. They just get rid of.
Right.
This is great.
It's so much smarter
Fully
than
on
what I
board
would
with
have
all
done.
of this so far. Yeah, exactly. Because we're dumb and we're mainland Americans. We're like,
Yeah.
how do we kill everybody to get through this?
We're the only ones who can survive this. And I'm going
Right.
to, yeah, no. If I didn't, or I would just bury myself in the sand. There I go again. I didn't mean to.
Bury your own grave.
Today I was like, I'm not going to mention burying myself. I'm not going to mention my grave.
Why would you deny yourself the pleasure
of burying myself alive in the sand?
No, of mentioning it every episode. I'm saying, yeah, it's a drinking game. Every time you mention it, someone has to take a shot.
Even if you're at work, take a shot. Okay. So at this point, Ben, the big tall guy, Ben goes back to the cave with his wife Ella. They're hiding in one of the caves. And at this point, it's like early morning on the 13th, and the pilot and Harada are still looking for Kaleohano, who has seemingly just disappeared completely. Like,
these guys are the worst hunters of all time.
They had a terrible plan. Nothing was working.
And this island's only, what, like 30 feet wide or something? They can't find them this entire time?
Like
no, I'm joking. Not 30 feet
miles.
wide, but still.
Yeah.
There's only so many places that people could hide.
Seriously, yeah. And he has Harada with him, who's lived there his whole life. So like he knows, which is kind of makes me wonder if he wasn't giving him what he wanted anyway. Like Harada,
why would he get him riled up in this whole situation?
I don't know. There's it's all this that happened is and you'll find out why we don't know much about what happened here. So they're still looking for Kaleohano. And they go back to the village to find anybody to help them, to try to threaten anybody to tell them where. And they run into Ben, 6'5" Ben, and Ella, his wife.
Like, remember me, bitch?
And they were out searching for food. And Ben is just over it, man. He's so sick of these people. And so they hold Ben and Ella hostage. And they're like, we're going to kill Ella if you don't go find Kaleohano. And Ben's like, fine, I'll go find him. Yeah. And he walks away and just kind of pretends to look and like kills time.
That's like when my wife asked me to get something from the fridge and I'm like, I don't know. It's here. Can you find it?
You're weaponized.
You never send a man to find something.
It's weaponized incompetence. I'm the same way. Yeah. I'll look in the same spot for like...
No, I actually do find stuff a lot of times. And then when she can't find it, I find it. And then I'm like, we have torn like a hole into the space-time continuum. This should not be happening.
Gender roles are no longer. So Ben is like kind of going along with it. And he's like, okay, I can't find him. I've looked everywhere. And the pilot's he just loses his mind. He starts screaming at Ben and cursing him in Japanese and just like fully insane. And Ben is so tired of it. He's just like, dude. And he looks at Harada and he's like, can you take your new friend's gun? Because he's insane and he'll probably kill somebody. And he kind of gives Harada one more chance to like prove that he's not. Yeah. And Harada's like, and he's in English is like, no, because if I do, he'll kill me.
If you take his gun.
And Ben's just like, all right. And so while he has a chance, Ben just tackles him. He tackles Nishikaichi to the ground. After he had given Harada his gun to reload, and that's when he tackled him. But
he's like, here, take my gun to reload it.
These guys are like cartoon villains.
Yeah.
So the pilot Nishikaichi quickly grabs a pistol from his boot, he has
another one. He's a backup. Of course.
He gets a backup, and he shoots Ben 3 times.
No.
And don't worry, Ben is indestructible.
Okay, good. I was very attached to Ben.
Oh, same. I love Ben. Ben he hits him in the chest, his hip, and his crotch. So 3 places that would probably take anyone out. But Ben just stands back up, and as he's standing back up, Ella, his wife, smacks the gun out of Nishikaichi's hands.
Nice.
Like an absolute legend.
Yes.
And Ben picks up the pilot and just throws him against the wall.
He's like Darth Vader, like attacking the Emperor at the end of Star Wars.
But he's just so annoyed. He's so angry. He's like, this is so dumb.
This is such a waste of our time.
No, seriously. That's Ben's attitude, where he's just like, come on, man.
We're better than this.
You could have not done this, but you did. So the pilot is completely knocked unconscious at hitting this stone wall. And Harada starts to run away. And Ben's like, absolutely not. And so he starts to chase Harada. But before he can get him, Harada turns the gun on himself and shoots himself in the belly and kills himself. So
straight harikari.
Yep. And Ben was like, F. And so then he turns around, and as he's turning around, he sees his wife, Ella, just crushing the pilot's head in with a big rock.
Oh!
And he's
gangster
so,
style. Dear Lord.
He's so proud of her. He's so proud of her. Like, he was so impressed and happy.
I've never loved you more than I do right now.
Because imagine you're just like, yes, you just, like we're a team and we both killed this dude. Then he just finishes the job.
Sarah if she, if some guy who tried to kill us, some guy who shot me and then she bashes his head in with a rock.
Like that's
I'd
hot.
be like, that's a ride or die wife. I agree.
It is.
Yeah.
That is. She's worth keeping. Not that you weren't gonna.
Can you imagine what happened when they went home? Oh dear Lord, X-rated. We're not going to talk about that. The passion.
What I imagined was him going to a hospital.
Oh, yeah, that too. But the lovemaking after your wife murders someone in your honor.
Who hurt
after you threw him at a wall. Yeah.
I mean, this is like a movie. Like, I don't know why they haven't made a movie about Ben and Ella, because they're
also this is like cool. Relationship advice. If you're having like a rough patch in your marriage, have someone murder someone in your honor.
Okay, I'm like a relationship therapist, and it's like, okay, how about you just try adding some murder and killing a man for each other?
Revenge, I guess, is sort of what it is.
Well, I think it's mostly just trauma bonding, but they stay married for the rest of their lives.
Love, of course they do.
Of course, yeah. You can't go through that and not.
You can't divorce a wife like that. Why would you? No. Why would you ever?
She crushes his head, and he finishes Ben is like, I'm just gonna cut his throat just to make sure. And so he does. And he said later, I was so angry. That was his quote. I was so angry. Anyway, so
I appreciate him being in touch with his emotions, because most men from that generation would never tell you that they're upset or angry, but he just straight up was like, I was very angry. I
was pissed. I couldn't handle my, I mean, I get it. Like, you watch this guy bash in all the doors of your houses and burn people's houses down and be like, yeah, I'm so angry. And he tried to kill you. Yeah. And he shot you 3 times. And Ben, being an indestructible legend, just stood up and
It's awesome.
just stood up and cut his throat. The next day, so Ella leaves and she goes and meets up with the ship, because those people had actually made it through to Kauai.
Oh, they finally came through, right,
and gotten help. And so the owner of the island came back, and with like some like marshal and like all the military goes back and they like examine it, and they'd already buried the pilots. They were like, yeah, whatever, just leave him. They got the airplane, they collected the papers, they took it all in, and things kind of went back to normal. And except they did arrest the beekeeper.
What? Why?
Well, you'll find out. He was Japanese. This incident was a huge influence on the decision to have internment camps.
Oh.
Yeah. So it probably would have happened, but not as bad as it did if this did not happen. So the U.S. government argued that these people, the Haradas, had never shown any pro-Japanese sentiment or anti-American sentiment, and yet they were flipped so easily. So how would we know? How do we know who would actually do that or not? So we may as well illegally intern everybody.
So this is the case that like justifies internment camps?
Yes.
Holy
One
shit.
of them. Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. I didn't realize that until I read through this. And I wouldn't say it's the only case, but it was one of the arguments. Like, well, how can we be sure? Because remember the Niihau Incident. And Shintani, the beekeeper, was taken and interned for the duration of the war.
Ugh, poor guy.
But I know. He was like 60 at the time. And
yeah, it was, I mean,
yeah,
it's all awful.
Oh,
all of it's awful.
It's terrible. And like, because so Shintani was released, and he actually ended up becoming an American citizen in 1960 and moving back to Niihau and spending the rest of his life there with his wife that was from the island. Anyway, Shintani sounds like he came out of it being like, Yeah, because it wasn't, all he did was be Japanese in the vicinity.
Yeah, literally, that's it. Yeah.
And all he did was say, yeah, I'll ask this person. And then he ditched. He wasn't helping at all, Anyway.
Also, it sounds like if we're to speculate, he was like, yeah, I'm not dealing with, he's like, oh, I need to get the hell away from this guy. This is bad news.
Understand? I would have been like, actually, no, yeah. I'm in too deep. I just want to keep bees.
Yeah.
Irene, Yoshio's wife, Irene Harada, was imprisoned, but was never charged with crimes relating to the incident because she insisted she was innocent. And there wasn't very much proof because both people who she was with are now dead.
Convenient.
And then it wasn't until 1992 in an interview where she finally admitted that she did help him. She helped the pilot, and she said, I felt bad for him.
Man.
Which is like some complex deep human, I don't know. Anyway, she ended up moving back to Hawaii and lived on Kauai.
So she didn't even go back to the island?
No.
She didn't even go back to the Forbidden Island?
I don't think they would have liked that. If I were the Robinsons, I'd be like, not you. You're not coming here. Kaleo Hano, the hero, he received the nation's highest civilian award.
Hell yes.
He received the Medal of Freedom, and so did Ben.
Yes.
Ella received nothing.
What? She bashed that dude's head in.
I know. She killed him. I don't know why, and she never really fought it. So I think, watching yourself bash someone's head in is enough to... I mean, if it were me, I'd be like, I don't want to think about that ever again. So,
or what's that Shakespeare quote is, greatness knows itself, is basically how Ella is. Yes.
I think she was just like, I don't care. I did my job, protected my husband. But it's still, I want to say, Ella, man, you drove that home.
We salute you. Yeah, we salute Ella.
The killing blow is no small thing, which I'm not saying killing is good, but like in that scenario, yeah.
Yeah, in one fell swoop, she destroyed this terrible person that tried to kill everybody and saved her marriage, which I don't know if it was in trouble at that point, but it re-upped their marriage.
Next level.
Next level, their bond, yeah.
Kaleo Hana was married at the time, and I think he had one kid at the time, but he went on to have seven kids total with his wife, Mabel. They moved to one of the bigger islands, and he became a reverend and served in their local church for the rest of his life. And he had a long, healthy life, and he died at the age of 74, surrounded by family. So
awesome.
Nishikaichi, the pilot, his remains were finally returned to his family in the 50s. Up until then, they thought he had just died in Pearl Harbor because the U.S. military was like, we are not talking about this. Yeah. We're not talking about who the pilot was. They kept it a secret. They kept it all under wraps. And then finally, they gave his remains back.
Come clean with it, yeah.
Yeah. And so he ended up back in Japan with his family. His remains did.
Oh my God.
But yeah, thanks to this incident, people became very troubled over the loyalties of Japanese or Japanese-appearing people. Yep. Historian Gordon Prang wrote, quote, the rapidity with which the 3 resident Japanese went over to the pilot's cause troubled the Hawaiians, and added, the more pessimistic among them cited the Niihau Incident as proof that no one could trust any Japanese person, even if an American citizen, not to go to Japan if it appeared expedient. So it's
thumbs
dark.
Down.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where like, this was one person or 2 people. Yeah. That does not reflect, this was one of America's many dark spots. Many dark spots. Mistreated their own civilians in the name of keeping people safe. It violated the Constitution because they were locked up without trial or judgment. These American citizens of Japanese heritage were taken from their homes and interned. Much of their land was redistributed and bought by white settlers and white Americans while they were interned. So when they were released, they had nothing to go back to. When they were released from the internment camps, they were each given $25 and a train ticket.
$25?
Yeah. And it wasn't until the 80s that Ronald Reagan was pressured into signing a law that awarded them $20,000 each. So there were some reparations, but...
not enough.
Took a while and not enough, never enough. Because if you think about how all that livelihood they lost, all their shops that were closed. Yeah. While the story is crazy and very intense, it did end up contributing a lot to our racism and fear of anybody who didn't look like us. Because remember, we didn't lock up Germans, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, that's my story.
Wow.
Isn't that nuts?
That was crazy. That was excellent.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Have I really been talking for an hour?
You've been talking for 47 minutes, but that's okay. No, actually, that's not true because we had our intro. You've been talking for 45 minutes, but.
Okay. We might have to cut some of that.
Do you enjoy supporting Hannah and I as creators, or are you a horrible drain on society who contributes nothing and only takes? Clearly, you are not the latter. So please head on over to nebula.tv/500opentabs and sign up for Nebula. There you can check out exclusives like a handheld detour, the latest video from Epos Vox. Today, just about everyone has smartphones with which they can take selfies and share with friends. But just 25 years ago, such a concept didn't even exist. With the Game Boy camera, Nintendo gave us the power to take photos and create art on the go. Its history is fascinating, and its impact continues to this day. Speaking of Game Boy, did you guys hear about this kid that supposedly beat Tetris? Like, as if that's something you can even do? Sounds to me more like he broke Tetris, in which case, I actually salute him. I like things being broken, because it reminds me of how most of us feel the moment we open our eyes. You can find this video and dozens of other high-production originals on Nebula, a video streaming platform built by and for creators. You hear that? There are dozens of them. Dozens! And along with videos and podcasts, you can now learn new skills in Nebula's fully produced classes. Right now, when you head to nebula.tv/500opentabs, you get a whopping 40% off an annual subscription. By signing up, you can also support other creators like Todd in the Shadows, Princess Weeks, and many others. So, real talk. If you're enjoying this podcast and want us to keep making episodes, please go to nebula.tv/500opentabs for 40% off an annual subscription and give this show the chance it deserves to grow.
Your turn.
Wow. Yeah. I need a second to whoa.
Yeah.
I was invested in that.
It was a lot. Yeah, me too. I'll put some pictures up on the internet or on the post of Ben
I want to see
and
what all
Ella
these guys look like.
Yeah. They look like they're awesome. Your turn.
Okay, sorry. Let me pull it up.
This is gonna be a long episode.
Oh yeah, very long. I almost I feel like I need to ramp myself down from that. I got very what? Okay.
Right.
Let me just shake it off.
Yeah, shake it off. Get it out.
Get it out. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to go second was I started to do the research on my topic, and as happens every episode, it's like, oh crap, this is big. And it got bigger and bigger.
Tell me
and
about
bigger. It. And it got crazier. And I tried to go back and edit, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to edit this one because it's fun. And I figured out a natural point where I can split it. So
this is going to be doing a twofer?
I'm going to do a two-parter.
Wow.
So it's our first one. First two-parter. So I'm going to do the first part. This is why I wanted to go second, so I could do
Makes sense.
The first part. And then the next time I can go first. So that way it sort of feels.
First, yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have to sort of shift gears as much.
Nice.
So thank you.
I'm excited. Okay.
Yeah. This is okay. You'll see why I had to why I got really sidetracked. By the way, whatever, I don't know, however many tabs I've closed as a result of this show so far, I think I opened up 10 times more of them just trying to figure this one out.
Oh no. Okay. We'll have a long closing ceremony.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to try and keep it as, succinct as I can for this first part. So mine is based on an article from Popular Mechanics. It's written by Dylan Taylor Lehman, and the title of the article is "The Flood That Swallowed a City."
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I had never heard about this. I didn't know anything about this. It's sort of it's okay. So this was a big deal, and a lot of smarter people than I are, smarter about this, have written sort of books and gotten whatever. But I had never come across it. But it's got the three elements that I think make a great story: death, destruction, and dickhead rich guys.
That's been a theme for most of your stories you've chosen.
The 3Ds, yes.
The 3Ds. Yep. Death, destruction, and dickhead rich guys.
Dickhead rich guys. So the flood is the Johnstown flood, which was referred to locally as the Great Flood of 1889, happened on Friday, May 31st, after the catastrophic failure of the South Fork Dam.
Where is this located?
In Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I've never heard about this.
I never heard about this.
I read the list of national disasters all the time.
Yes.
Or I have.
And the death toll for this was about 2,200 people. So this was essentially like 9/11 sized in terms of how many people died.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I never heard this.
Yeah, I don't know. I never heard about it. Thank you, Popular Mechanics.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So Johnstown, I keep calling it Jonestown, by the way, which I know is not the correct thing, but I keep reading it as Jonestown.
Also a high death toll.
A high death toll, not nearly as many, but
no.
So Johnstown is this town that's built in the early 1800s, and once they discovered that it was rich in iron ore, it like started to flourish as a town. Mm-hmm. By the end of the century, it had around probably about like 20 to 30,000 inhabitants. And the main business that everyone really depended on was the local steel mill, which was the Cambria Iron Company.
Nice.
And Cambria Iron Company invested heavily in Johnstown, schools, roads, like concerts, whatever. It was basically a company town that sprung up around this iron company.
Okay.
And so for the first half of the century, there was the Pennsylvania canals, right? So these canals were crucial to this town because it connected them to the East Coast and most importantly to Pittsburgh, which was at the heart of the steel industry at the time. And of course, weather will change. There's rains, there's droughts, whatever. Sometimes it's heavy, sometimes it's lighter. And it became a bit of an issue. So they decide that the state of Pennsylvania decides that they can't risk that these canals go dry or high or low. So they decide that they're going to build a dam to be able to control the water flows on this.
Control nature.
Yes, control nature, control how much water goes in and out, because there's also these towns that have sprung up now around this. It's not just Johnstown. There's also like little villages in the area, and it's like a big, they're transferring a lot of steel and stuff throughout this area. So about 14 miles upstream, they build what would end up becoming the South Fork Dam.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
I have to just somehow shove anything about Wales into this at all. Not the animal, the country. This area was settled by mostly Welsh immigrants, and Cambria is the Latin name for Wales. And so they started all these steel industries and coal mining industries. They took what they knew from Wales and brought it to Pennsylvania. That's my little thing. Go. Your turn. You're laughing? What you laughing about?
All comes back to Wales.
I have some special interests.
There were no whales that got trapped in the canals, unfortunately. They didn't explode anywhere.
None of them exploded? Oh.
None of them exploded here, sadly, but we'll do the best that we can.
Anyway, so rivers and canals.
Rivers and canals, so they decide to build the South Fork Dam. Now, the South Fork Dam is this huge, huge undertaking. It has many stops and starts. Some people, it loses money. It makes money again. So the entire thing takes about 15 years to complete.
Whoa.
And it's finally finished in 1853.
Well, that's early. Okay.
It's early, right? Right in the halfway through the century. So it was an earth dam, and it was the largest in the world at the time, about 72 feet tall. Wow. And the dam was known as a gravity dam because of its own weight, acted as a force to secure it in its bedrock foundation and resist the outward pressure of the water it contained. I had your face as I was reading this article right now being like, I don't understand what any of this means. I don't really understand how dams work. I don't know what any of this, how this has to do. It sounds important. So I was like, okay, I need to understand what the hell any of this is. So I ended up having to open like 50 more tabs about how dams are built, how dams function, what this dam was, what caused this dam to. So, because there's a lot of context for it.
A hell of your own making.
A hell of my own making because I couldn't let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to do my best to try and explain this. Obviously, disclaimer, I'm a humble artist, just a storyteller at my best. I don't really know. I don't have an engineering degree. I'm really just trying to do this as GED and simple as possible. I may or may not have done several searches in YouTube for how dams work, children's.
Explain to me like I'm 5 how dams work.
Explain to me like I'm 5. I'm not embarrassed. This is how it was.
No.
I did find one channel called Elementary Engineering, and there was this Indian guy who narrates it. Fantastic. Shout out to that guy. He did it in the simplest way possible that even, a schlub like me could understand. Now I'm an expert in earth dams. So the short version of it is earth dams are made of soil and rocks.
Okay.
So there are 3 types of soil that are used. It's pervious, semi-pervious, and impervious, which, as you can imagine.
Is that where impervious comes from?
I mean, I think impervious isn't necessarily, I don't know if it's originating from dams. Anything can be impervious or pervious or semi-pervious, but it definitely applies here. Yeah.
Got it.
So the combination of these kinds of materials is what allows you to control the flow of water that can seep through the dam, in this case, an earth dam. So an earth dam is just made from natural materials. It's not made from they're not mixing concrete or anything like that.
Right.
They're just using dirt, basically dirt and rocks. Just try and keep it as simple as possible, or clay or whatever. Pervious obviously means water can get through it. Semi-pervious means some water can get through it. Impervious, no water gets through it. Again, we're going as basic as possible as we can for this. So you need a good combination of all those different materials in order to make an effective earth dam. So the best way to think about this is that a dam is like a gigantic, massive, 70-foot tall M&M.
Whales are cats. Dams are
M&Ms.
M&Ms.
Whales are cats. Dams are M&Ms. So the chocolate on the outside of the M&M, that's your pervious, right? So if you put the chocolate next to the water can get through the chocolate because it's pervious.
Right.
Now, if you have too much pervious material, the water will just sort of go through it and it won't hold it in place and it won't block anything. Eventually it'll start poking these holes and then basically make it all sort of pointless. What you need in the center is an impervious, which I like to think of as the peanut in the middle of the peanut M&M.
Oh, we're doing peanut M&Ms. Oh,
peanut M&Ms are what you need. Oh, you don't like peanut M&Ms?
No, they're garbage.
Hater. They're my favorite. They're the ones I love. I've already lost you. Can you think of a different chocolate that you'd like to use for this?
I'm following.
Okay. Yeah. So the peanut M&M is the one that works. So what happens is if the water goes through the chocolate and hits the peanut, it can't get through the peanut. So it has to go up and around it and it sort of slows it down and then comes back on the other side.
Okay.
Are you following?
Yeah. So it can go around it.
Yes.
But
you need a thing in the middle of it that stops it.
To slow it or just stop it completely?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Not to completely stop, because if it's because again, this is all about, you don't want to block the water completely because the rains are going to come and the spillway won't necessarily provide as much of an exit for the water as you'd like it to. Mm-hmm. So you kind of got to let it seep through a little bit so that the river can continue to flow.
Got it.
Now,
Got it.
If you're going straight baller, you'll have the combination of all 3, and then you'll have the semi-pervious, which I like to think of as caramel. Caramel surrounding the peanut and the chocolate around it. So
I see.
See what I'm saying?
This makes sense. Yes.
Right?
This is very helpful. Thank you. If you had done it with just straight science stuff, I'd be gone.
I was gone.
I'd physically be here, but I would be not physically, or not in my body.
I understand. I'm sorry it's M&Ms that are not your favorite, but I try.
I like
M&Ms.
It's fine. I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry,
everything. Peanut M&Ms. It's okay. So ideally, if you have a combination of all 3, you don't necessarily put the peanut directly next to the chocolate. You have a little bit of caramel in between it so that, all these things are contributing to the water going through the dirt and the rocks and not sort of blasting all the way through and poking holes in your dam.
Got it.
And then, of course, you have your outer shell, which is the coloring in the M&M logo that also contributes to the water not wearing down the dam. Following?
Got it. I am following. This is so much easier to understand. Okay.
It only took me 6 hours to figure out what all that means. I just condensed it to you as much as possible.
We started a podcast to have fun, and now we write an essay every week.
We're just doing homework every week.
I think I've said that already before, but man.
Yes. So there you got your giant peanut dam, right? That's made of soil and dirt and rocks. So additionally, at the bottom of this dam, there's a stone culvert with iron pipes that drain water to the river. So think of this as a base layer. It's a bunch of rocks covering a pipe, and the pipe has like a switch. So with those pipes, you have like a control tower nearby. You can feed the canals. So you can decide like, I want some water to come through, or I don't want any water to come through. So like you're sipping through a straw, you stop the straw. Following me?
Yes, I'm here.
These all contribute. All contribute to it.
I'll stop you if I don't know what's going on.
Okay, good. I don't want you to get too bored. I promise this will pay off at some point.
I'm having fun.
Okay, good.
This is why I like this. I don't have to read anything.
Okay, good. Additionally, for this dam, they have a 98-foot wide spillway that was carved into the rock on the north side of the dam, which could guide the overflowing water to the river below.
Okay, so it's like one of those truck ramps.
Yes. Like when you're driving up the 5 and you have like the emergency where like the truck goes ramp, up and then it goes up the slope so it doesn't crash into everything else. But in this case, it's wanting you to crash the water into the river. So this is in case that the thing overflows. So, okay, that's it. That's all you have to know about dams right now.
Okay.
So at this time, what did I say? It was 1853. Mm-hmm. It takes them 15 years. They make this incredible, gigantic M&M style dam. And you'd think it's a big hit, right? It's amazing. This thing's this beautiful, feat of construction. It's the biggest in the world. It's awesome. Everyone's stoked, right?
Right. No? Aw.
No. Psych. Because guess what happens in the meantime while they were spending all those years making this dam?
What?
The railroad industry explodes.
Oh, duh. Yeah.
Yeah. And now you got trains. Trains are like faster, they're sexier, they're better. They make your hair grow back. They give you abs. Suddenly your father respects you and tells you he's proud of you if you're in a train. It's
proud
great.
Of you.
Yeah.
Wow. It's a lot of projection.
Exactly. And the canals are sort of like lame and outdated now. Canals might as well be wearing skinny jeans and eating Tide Pods. That ship has sailed. They're not cool anymore.
I wear only skinny jeans and I only eat Tide Pods. How dare you?
You're basically a canal in 1853.
Sorry to say I'll own that. I'll own that. I own it.
Yeah. So they spent all this money and time making this gigantic dam, and it basically like doesn't matter now. And so it's useless. It's this useless project that they spent all this money into, or they dumped all this money into. So it kind of goes and it sits for a little while. It's like kind of being maintained, but like not super duper. And eventually in 1857, for reasons I don't understand why they allowed this, the Pennsylvania Railroad actually buys the entire canal system. And my assumption, I don't know, I couldn't find exactly why they allowed this. I'm guessing this is like before you have like anti-competitive clauses of any kind, but the idea that the railway can just buy the canal system and be like, this doesn't matter anymore, bye. But under the guise,
that's kind of what led to like the crash of the 1880 something crash, where everyone was just land grabbing and ruining everything.
Yes. So the literally the industry buys it and is like, whatever, it doesn't matter. And pun intended, the canal system is dead in the water.
Sad.
Yeah. So the dam just kind of sits there, and it's like kind of maintained, but not really. It's just sort of this object of curiosity at this point. And, sometimes it floods, and when it floods, they'll just sort of, there's holes in it. They'll patch it up with straw and mud, but no one's really specifically in charge of this.
What? They're just leaving it?
They're just, technically, the Pennsylvania Railroad owns it, but no one's like really, it's not like a publicly funded, upkept thing at this point. Not that infrastructure is super taken care of now, but you know what I'm saying. And so
nothing's changed.
The locals of Johnstown sort of get used to it. And for them, it becomes like this kind of like badge of honor where they're like, oh yeah, we're from Johnstown. We're used to a little bit of flooding. Oh, you know what I mean? They're like, whatever. It wasn't uncommon for like a foot of water just to come into the town. And they're like, whatever, liberal. Sorry, they don't sell capri pants where you're from. Yeah.
They make it part of their identity. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, sorry, it's not your liberal, like, coastal elitist college where you major in avocado toast and no one floods. We just have floods here, and that's how we like it. We like our towns flooded and our beer domestic. I don't know if this is actually the politics of that, but
it's a good guess, I think.
Yeah. And that's just sort of easy come, easy go. That's how it is. There's floods. It happens. People take care of it. They don't take care of it. It becomes part of the identity, and time passes. And in 1875, a congressman, John Riley, he buys the dam, the lake, and the surrounding area for $2,500, and he holds on to it. Now, again, I'm not quite sure why a congressman is buying all this land from the railways. Yeah.
No,
it's very
anything
different times. Right.
You could do almost anything if you had money.
Yes.
Not that you can't anymore, but you know.
Right. But it's just so outright. So he buys it for $2,500. And around this time, there's this local rich dickhead. His name is Benjamin Ruff.
Oh.
And he has a dream. He has a dream. They always do. They have a dream for a rich dickhead society. So a special rich dickhead club.
Pretty sure I live there right now.
That's true. You do.
In Silicon Valley.
It's kind of a similar thing, actually. Yes. So he has this plan. He wants to buy this whole shebang from Riley, and he wants to turn it into like his own version of like the Bohemian Grove, and like, I don't know, do ritual sacrifices or whatever. It's like a place for them to turn. I mean, I don't know about the Bohemian Grove. That's speculation, but he wants to turn it into this place, this like summer area where him and his rich dickhead friends can all sit around and hang out and like hunt other human beings or whatever it is that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And Riley sells it to him, and he sells it to him for about $2,000, and he loses like $500 in the process. Wow. Now, Riley, like a normal person, would have been like, okay, well, I lost $500. I'll just write that off on my taxes. It's fine. I'll just deduct it from my income and count that as a loss and figure out. Riley's like, no, that's not okay. I lost money on this. I'm not fine with it. So remember that stone culvert with the iron pipes that drains water to the river that's on the bottom, like I was talking about, the straw?
Yeah.
So like in the 1800s equivalent of stealing copper wire, he's like, before the sale is done, he goes and he takes out all those pipes.
What?
And he sells it for scrap metal.
Them?
Yeah. He just takes them.
Oh, I have the feeling that I got when Pippin made all that noise in the mines of Moria.
Yes.
That's the feeling I have right now, where it's like, oh no.
Oh no. So
everyone's gonna die.
He takes it all for scrap metal.
I've been thinking a lot about Lord of the Rings, by the way. I've been thinking a lot about it lately. Me too. Anyway, he takes Fool of a Took, just throw him down that well.
Fool of a Took, yeah. So he basically he like steals the copper wire equivalent of the bottom of this dam, takes it and runs, makes up the cost of his money, and he sells it to Ruff.
Wow.
So around 1879, 1880, Ruff takes it over, and he starts to develop the property into what will become the exclusive South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club.
Oh.
This is his rich dickhead society. And he gets to work. He's just like, listen, we're going to make all kinds of changes to this. It's going to be awesome. Because it's basically, the reservoir is connected to this. It's now a giant lake on top of this hill that's like looking over everything.
Yeah.
So there they build summer houses. They build horse stables. They build a clubhouse. And it's not enough. He keeps going.
Never enough.
It's never enough. He takes the crest of the dam. So the crest of the dam is like basically like if you have a bathtub, right? The ledge of the bathtub, that's the top of it.
Yeah.
So that the water doesn't spill out. He's like, it tapers, right? It kind of goes up like a little pyramid-y type thing. And he's like, it's not that wide for carriages. So he cuts it down. He lowers it by 2 feet so that it's wide enough to have the footpath accommodate carriages, which brings the top of the dam within 6 feet of the water.
Just because you're rich does not mean you're smart. Remember
Apparently
that.
These guys are geniuses. These are captains of industry, right?
Wow, that is so dumb.
Yep. And it gets dumber.
Wow. Oh.
On top of that, right? On top of that, he has this lake. He has this, he's widening it for carriages and stuff. He's starting to expand it. And he's like, these are men of leisure. They're rich. They're going to want to hang out here. What if there's not enough stuff to hunt? So he's like, you know what? Let's just bring in a bunch of fish and we'll dump the fish into this lake and into this reservoir so that when people are here, they can sit and fish and have a good time. So he just dumps them in. He just, the equivalent of like basically taking like, dumps a bunch of fish into this. Yeah.
I think we're gods,
Yeah, no. I mean, these guys for their day and age, they basically were. It was like unchecked. They could do whatever they wanted.
put whatever fish they wanted in there.
So they fill the holes. They fill that pipe area. There's no longer pipes in there that are actually draining any of the water out into the river.
Okay.
They start filling it with fish, and like I said, of course, the leaks and all that continue to happen. There's leaks, holes, whatever patches that need attention, and so the club laborers, they're again, as rich people do, they're like, well, I don't really want to do a good job here, so they start filling it with dirt, shale, hay, manure, and old bricks. They're barely compacting it. They're barely filling this dam up for any reason. And
Wow.
all the work on their dam essentially starts to prevent any drainage, right? I'm not sure if you knew this, as I said earlier, but dams require drainage. It's not about stopping all the water. It's about controlling the flow of the water.
Right. You can't just block it all off.
Yeah. On top of all this, right, they filled the pipes. They filled all these like stupid holes. On top of all this, the club placed screens in front of the spillways. You know why?
Why?
Because they didn't want the fish getting out. So all of a sudden, there's like these screens in front of the spillway so that the fish don't escape. So
okay,
are they cleaning these screens? Nope, they're not cleaning the screens. It's just dirt's collecting. So it's basically like kind of like, you know, when you go shower and then like your hairs all come down, like, you know, the wife hair comes and gets it clogged onto the screen. That's what it is.
And then you have to like pick it all out. Yeah.
Yes, but no one's cleaning it. So this thing's getting set up. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It got so bad that Daniel Morel, who has the most vicious neck beard I have ever seen in my entire life. It's literally just shaved
Hold
face.
on, I want to go look at it. Daniel Morel?
Yeah. He was a member of the club and the general manager of the Cambria Iron Company. So he understands a little about engineering and dam building. A little bit.
Okay, so he's slightly knowledgeable on it.
He's slightly knowledgeable about it, and he's like, dude, holy shit, what are you people doing? This is literally the stupidest thing I've ever heard. This is going to be a disaster. A disaster. This is going to end poorly. You guys you don't understand the first thing about dams. You don't understand the first thing about controlling the flow of water. You can't do this. And Ruff is like, stop being a downer. Shut up. And he's like, no, dude, please, like, I'll pay for an inspection. I'll pay for the inspector to come. I'll even pay the money to have the proper repairs happen. I'll just pay for it. Like, don't worry about it. I don't care. This is a huge concern. I have the money. I can cover it. Ruff is like, dude, stop trying to yuck my yum. Can you just let people enjoy things? We just want to have this dam that doesn't let water get out, and we want to be able to fish in it, and we want to lower the edges of the dam, and we want to be able to ride carriages, and we don't need to hear a bunch of riffraff from some guy that used to own
from some science man.
From some science guy who thinks he's somebody.
With a neck beard that's only on his neck.
Yeah. They're basically like, shut up, neck beard. Yeah, we got this covered. What do you know? Yeah.
The photo, he only has a beard on his neck. It's nowhere else on his face.
It's literally the most, it's the most unbelievable neck beard I've ever seen.
It's really gross. Anyway. He's
disgusting.
Trying to stop them, and they're like, absolutely not.
They're like, nope. And sure enough, doesn't matter, because the club is a huge hit. It's a huge hit. Ruff gets 100 families to join his stupid club, including those of Andrew Carnegie, Andrew Mellon, and Henry Frick, to name a few. So this is literally like, again, for context of the time, this is like they build this place and then they get like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and like, you know, Mark Zuckerberg to all be part of this like summer club where they have fake fishing and like this terrible, horrible dam that's there.
Oh, so lame.
And of course, this thing's like basically like an ivory tower above Johnstown, right? So people who work in Johnstown, like they work at a steel mill. They're not going up to this club at any point. No. So they just sit on their ivory tower and they're judging from above the city. They're like, oh, we're basically like kings of industry. We're the greatest human beings that have ever lived in the history of the universe. And the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club enjoys a quiet reign for close to a decade. They're having fun. They're fishing, they're hunting, they're doing their weird Illuminati meetings, they're sacrificing goats, they're dancing naked in front of owl statues, whatever it is that these guys are all doing at that time.
100% all of that. I'm pretty sure, actually.
Yeah, they're doing all of it.
Yeah.
And so they go about their business. Again, still, within Johnstown, there are floods. Floods are happening. It's sort of like rumors start to spread where they're like, did you hear about this guy, Neckbeard? He kind of was, I heard somebody said something that Morel was like complaining about this. And they're like, maybe there's a disaster that's looming. We don't really know. Is this thing going to burst? And everyone's like, I've lived here for 20 years. So basically this goes unchecked. Everybody in Johnstown sort of gets used to it. There are rumors. They're sort of like, I don't know, maybe, whatever. Like, we're fine. Until on May 30th, 1889,
okay,
two storms come. No. One from the south and one from the north. And they meet in the middle of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And they have like this like battle first, right? So they're like, they're doing like they're having like a walk off, trying to figure out who's going to establish dominance of storms. The storms are. And basically they decide to put their differences aside and they're like, what are we fighting for? Let's just become like a superstorm. And so these two storms converge.
Oh no.
And become a giant storm.
Oh no.
And a low pressure system stalled over the state and dumped an estimated 6 to 10 inches of rain on the Conemaugh River Valley.
Just that night.
Just that night. Yeah, the first night. 10 inches of rain. 10 inches of rain that's an insane amount of rain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And predictably, Johnstown flooded as it has many times in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And the residents are used to this, but they're all of a sudden like, dude, this is not normal. This is kind of a lot of water. This is a lot more water. Even whatever, Billy Bob's great-great-grandfather that has lived here for like 4 generations, he's never seen this much water that actually
he looks up from making cheese or whatever it is. Distributing cheese. And he's like, this is a lot of water. It all out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But nobody panics, right? Because the people of Johnstown, that's not what they're known for. They're known for keeping, cooler heads prevail.
Yes.
And they kind of laugh it off. Everyone's a little bit nervous, but they're not saying anything. And then the next day, on the 31st, back at the South Fork Dam, things started to get a little stressful. In fact, they started to get extremely stressful because at 7 a.m., starting at the beginning of the day, there's only about 2 feet between the top of the water and the top of the dam.
Wow.
And what's worse, at the top of the lake, a bunch of debris starts to collect. So if there's like a bad storm, you start to get like trees that fall over and like rocks and stuff. So these things start pooling and collecting at the top of this lake as the levels are rising. And from 7 a.m., the water starts raising every single hour until it soon became clear that something catastrophic was about to happen.
Oh, no.
And that's where I'm going to end today's tab.
No! Are you serious?
Yes.
You're ending it? Okay, that's fine.
That
makes sense.
I wanted to do.
About it.
Yes, I was going to say you got to promise not to read it because
I won't.
We're already a little bit long on time, but I didn't want to rush through because it gets so horrific in ways that like I couldn't imagine how crazy it was going to get. So just a teaser about like what happens. It gets bad.
Unimaginably crazy. Okay.
It's horrific because of the deaths, but it's almost comical in how insane it gets. So I figured,
wow,
that should have its own thing, and I'll get into all that, and I'll get into the sort of there's like
I like this 2-parter thing.
Anyway, so yes, you got to turn to next episode to really hear about. But now you know the context for it. Now you know all the setup for what was going to lead to the failure and what happened and why the failure was going to happen.
The Fire Island of dams with way more deaths.
Yes.
It's a Fire Island? Firefest, not Fire Island.
Oh, Fire Festival?
Yeah, Fire Festival of dams, yeah.
All the residents of Johnstown, they're paying, $5 for a cup of water. There are these tents everywhere that they're really mad about.
Sandwiches with just cheese on them. It's horrible.
I'm confusing it with Woodstock, which was a similar incident.
These
things have happened
Woodstock
over and over again.
99. All of this is being combined into one event.
It's almost like humans keep repeating the same mistakes.
It's almost like we never learn.
Yes, weirdly enough.
Now, nothing scares me more than growing up, I lived at the foot of a canyon, and there was a dam in the canyon. And I remember I was in an AP Environmental Science, and the teacher was like, yeah, so if there's an earthquake, here's what's going to happen, and here's what'll happen first, and here's what comes next. And he pretty much was just like, if you live here, here, and here, that dam is drowning you.
You're
And
dead.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh no. So ever since then, I see the dam and I'm like, and it's been like, it's like, I used to get like nightmares about it back in high school because I was like, I live in the dam zone.
I live in the damn zone.
I live in the dam zone. But yeah, he was so like flippant. He's like, in here, you'll die and you'll die and you'll die. And we were just like, we're 16. Anyway.
You're like, thanks. So I think now we're going to close our tabs. I'm just going to go ahead and close the tabs that explained how dams work, because that's the thing I don't necessarily need anymore for next week, so that I have something to close. Let me see. Where is it's on my desktop. So
open all 10 of them. They're on your desktop. Look at you.
I had to like get crazy with this one. Yeah. I had to get wild. I had to do a lot of different.
I can tell there's like so much more that you perfectly set this little stage, and then you're going to take me on a horrific journey next week.
Horrific.
I'll try not to pick something that's too much about death.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I guess I'm not going to surprise you next week because you know what the second part of it's going to be.
Now I won't do what I was going to do, which is also horrific. So I'll wait.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
And
you can count this time.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, close.
Plane crash. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Yes.
Well, you left me on a cliffhanger, but I'm really excited. So thank you
halfway there. Yes, yes. Okay, so now it's time to move on to listener emails. Yeah. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay.
Let me just pull it up. All right, so mine is from Bailey from Tacoma, Washington. Mm-hmm. And she says, this is a screw you to everyone who says white chocolate isn't chocolate and it's just nasty sugar garbage, including my mom. So she also attached a tab about white chocolate. And she said, white chocolate can claim its chocolate status because it's made from cocoa butter, which is the fat squeezed out of cocoa beans that is extracted from the cocoa liquor, which are used for brown chocolate. Furthermore, the byproduct of the pressed beans is cocoa powder with like 5 exclamation points.
I didn't realize that white chocolate's chocolateness was in question.
Oh, really? People are always, whenever I say I like white chocolate, they're like, it's not really chocolate. And
I just mostly am like, white chocolate's disgusting would be my response, but not like white chocolate isn't chocolate. I just assumed it's chocolate, but I just don't like it.
Oh, that's a shame. Actually, you're probably better off not liking it. It's what do you think about it? It's kind of gross. So she goes on to say, or they go on to say, granted, a lot of large corporate, cough, cough, American, cough, cough, chocolatiers aren't willing to go through that expensive process for higher quality white chocolate. So they'll typically import the butter and use a mix of cocoa butter and other fatty oils like coconut or palm. Mm-hmm. My partner and I have been on the hunt for high quality white chocolate ever since, but I feel so vindicated and can eat my white chocolate bark and macadamia nut cookies in peace. Love you, Bailey.
Thank you, Bailey.
Bailey's mad.
Bailey's mad at her mom about white chocolate.
I'm mad at Bailey's mom too. Now she can see.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Again, I didn't even know that white chocolate was in question. I had no reason to assume that it was in question.
You never heard anybody tell you that? It's called white
chocolate. Like, what the hell else is it going to be if it's not chocolate?
Right. All right, what do you have?
I don't know, man. All right. We have an email from Robert in the UK. Robert writes, "Good afternoon from the UK. After the first episode, I went back to my oldest tab and actually read it. It was a reflective piece about LARPing your job and how easy it can be to check out of actively working instead of just looking busy. It led me to think about my current job as a therapist and how it compares to 5 years as a barista and how much easier my life is now."
LARPing your job as a therapist.
As a therapist. No, I think the point is that they do not LARP their jobs as a therapist.
Yeah.
Right. So he goes on to say, working at a coffee bar meant being constantly busy. If I wasn't making drinks, I was cleaning or checking stock. A 10-hour shift would be 10 constant hours of being on my feet and working. And now as a therapist, I'm not actually speaking with a client. There is so much less pressure than before. There is time to enjoy coffee whilst writing clinical notes or reading a journal article to help with a new therapeutic difficulty. Whilst I don't think I LARP my job, my current life is so much cushier than my decade in retail. Loving the episodes so far. Very excited to go on this journey back into my forgotten tabs and bookmarks. Best, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert. I did read the article. It's the LARPing for your job is a bit about like people going on to like Slack to be like, like I did this. And it's like performative sort of like doing updates or like putting stuff on LinkedIn or like thumbs upping something or like saying that you updated a thing, and how the performance of your job is very different from actually doing the job.
That is really, I think there's a lot of people that do that, and you feel like, well, I must be behind because these people are always working.
Right. Because I'm constantly
really
updating others.
I think everybody's just lying until they can catch up with their own lies.
Right. It's sort of like the person who updates, I swear there's nothing wrong with my relationship. I'm not projecting. I just, for some reason, this is where my mind keeps going, where it's like the person on Instagram who keeps posting like the professional photo shoots of them and their partner. And then you're always like, oh, this couple's in trouble once they start doing. Yeah.
It's like, that's why LARPing is this post so detailed? Yeah. If the post is too detailed, I'm like,
and my children are my blessing and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. We're like, oh no.
Yeah, no, it's bad. Or when they combine Facebook accounts, I'm like, which one of you cheated?
No. That's the healthiest ones are the ones who like never update, I feel like.
They might be.
They're just like, what? I don't have time. Anyway, I think in the article, they also talk about how it's different for people like us who are in the creative industry, where we're like, who the hell am I LARPing to? Like, I don't have anything to update. Like, there's no one. So it's kind of weird. And you kind of feel the sense of guilt because you're not able to say like, well, I read this tab today or wrote this or whatever. So
you can't report to people.
Yeah, exactly. You can't LARP your job, but that's okay. I think is what they're saying. And I think that's what Robert's talking about. Yeah. So
I like love always, that.
We'll include the links in the show notes.
I just like the idea of using the word LARP for things that it wasn't meant for.
I love it. Yes. I use LARP a lot.
It's great. Yeah, me too.
LARP or cosplaying. Well,
thanks, Robert.
Yeah, thanks, Robert.
Yes.
Thank you guys for your submissions.
We should cosplay as cartoonists at the next convention we go to.
Oh, LARPing, cartoon LARP.
Versus each other. I got to get some scarves. You gotta get a black dress. Wear the same black dress every day.
I was gonna say, what makes you think I'm not wearing one right now under this scarf and hoodie?
Sorry, I shouldn't have assumed.
Don't assume. I actually do always make the point to Sarah where I'm like, I don't have the balls to do this because I'm too antiquated and self-conscious, but I don't know why I shouldn't be able to wear like a skirt all the time because it's in the summertime. It makes much more sense that's just the airflow and the sweatiness and the swamp ass that I get. I'm like, it seems much more functional. I feel like the Scottish know what's up. The Scottish have got this down.
Yeah. Same with like Hawaiians and Tongans and stuff.
Exactly. I'm like, this is perfect. It's not even like a cultural, this seems like logical to me. Anyway, so hopefully we can make that popular, but I probably won't be the one to lead that charge. I'm too self-conscious.
I kind of am too about
upper
things.
Legs. Yeah.
You got pasty upper legs?
Upper legs because I'm always
Who
wearing
says
shorts.
You're gonna wear a mini skirt. You don't have to wear a skirt.
I gotta show off these beautiful legs that I work out all the time, Hannah. Come on. If you got it,
you do walk a lot.
Yeah,
you got walking legs.
And biking, don't forget. I give you the bike updates.
I've been walking in the mornings now, and it's kind of nice.
Job.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's helpful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I see the same people every day. Do you do that too, or it's just like the same people?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
walkers.
Yeah, especially in the morning, there's a whole different world of people that you wouldn't see otherwise. Yeah.
There's this guy that always walks by me that wears socks up to his knees every day, no matter what the weather.
Interesting.
And we're on saying hi basis now, so.
Nice. Maybe he should be a guest on the podcast.
Hey, sock man.
Yeah. My tab's about socks and knee highs. And how they're great.
They're great, yeah. Anyway. Thank you, everybody. And I wanted to say before we forgot that we're going to be at Emerald City Comic Con together at a table.
Yes.
February 29th, right?
Yes, February 29th through the 3rd of March because we start on the leap year. This is a leap year, so we start on leap day. It's a Thursday. So Thursday through Sunday we'll be there. The table number announcement will come soon. Before we forget, if you have a tab, the submissions have been great. We want more submissions. Please keep emailing. Don't be shy. We love getting them. We can never get enough. Please email them to 500opentabs. That's 500opentabs@gmail.com. Let us know who you are, where you're from, a brief anecdote or fun thing that you learned from your tab. And of course, the link to the tab. Please send them. We love it.
It's really, yeah. And if you're thinking, no, I'm not going to do it this time, just do it.
Yes, just do it and let us decide if it's good or bad. If it's terrible, we just won't use it. But I'm sure it's great. None of them have been bad so far.
No.
It's kind of like my fun I don't know how you feel about this. For me, it feels like the treat at the end of the episode that we get to read somebody else's. Yeah.
Well, it's like a fun little window and like, oh, what's one more thing I'm not going to read about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah? We get to have salami as a treat, which is our our listener emails.
If you want, you can give us some more salami. Anyway.
Yeah, give us some more salami.
But we also have social media too of our own. I'm at Hannah Hillam on all the things, and you are.
I'm at PermaFriends on Instagram and at Kavataharian on Twitter. And then also we are 500 Open Tabs on Twitter and Instagram. And then also we have our Discord channel, which is starting to slowly populate, but we want more. Yeah. I think I'm going to do a post the day that this drops. I'll start doing these on the days that they drop on Instagram where we can link directly to it, because Discord requires us to update the link weekly because it expires.
So weird. Okay.
It's okay. Whatever. It's just for privacy reasons. But yes, join the Discord, follow us on social media, and at YouTube. So many people don't know that we're on YouTube, which I was shocked by.
You can watch us. You can watch me yawn 5 times during his story and it's
like the real experience of talking to me in real life. It's perfect. You've perfectly simulated it.
It was only 3 times and it was not you. Anyway, you can watch us talk and do this, and it's pretty fun. You can see facial expressions sometimes add a little bit more to it. So
yeah.
Anyway,
thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Alyssa, for cutting it all together and being our friend.
Yes.
And do you remember what we decided last time? Is what our ending was going to be? It's going to be Keep It Josie is what we were.
Oh, that's right. Keep it Josie 500 tabs. Are we really doing that?
Why not? Keep it Josie until we have another one. Keep it Josie
until we can figure something out.
Josies of the world, please don't forget to submit your tabs. We want to know.
Right in. We want to collect them.
There was a dearth of Josies this week. It's very sad. But until next time, keep it Josie.
Keep it Josie. Bye.
And thanks for listening. Bye.